Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So we'll start with the Great Mother. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I go for refuge to the Source, consciousness and its divine names. I go for refuge to the messengers, the realizations and the realized ones. I go for refuge to the Lama, the teachings and the community. Through my wholehearted devotion to love and truth, may my false self vanish into the Source, and may I be a servant of the divine will. Yahu, Yahu, Ya Daim, Yahu, Yahu, Ya Kudus. O Allah and your holy messengers, Lord Jesus Christ, Muhammad, peace be upon him, Lord Buddha, I turn my heart to you and request your blessings. Empower me with truth, wisdom and insight. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus did I hear at one time. The Blessed One was residing on Vulture Peak Mountain at Rajagriha, together with a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One rested in an absorption on the categories of phenomena called illumination of the profound. At the same time, the Bodhisattva Great Being, Noble Avalokiteshvara, while practicing the profound perfection of wisdom, looked and saw that the five aggregates are also empty of an intrinsic nature. Then, due to the Buddha's power, Venerable Sariputra asked the Bodhisattva Great Being, Noble Avalokiteshvara, how should sons or daughters of noble family train if they wish to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? The Bodhisattva Great Being, Noble Avalokiteshvara, replied to Venerable Sariputra, Sariputra, sons or daughters of noble family who wish to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should see things in this way. They should correctly observe also the five aggregates to be empty of an intrinsic nature. Form is empty. Emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are empty. Sariputra, therefore, all phenomena are emptiness. They are without characteristics, unborn, unceasing, without stains, without absence of stains, not deficient and not complete. Sariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formations, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no texture, and no mental object. There is no element of the eye up to no element of the mind, and further up to no element of the mind consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, up to no aging and death and no exhaustion of aging and death. There is no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment and no non-attainment. Sariputra, therefore, since bodhisattvas have no attainment, they rely upon and dwell in the perfection of wisdom. Because their minds have no veils, they have no fear. Having utterly gone beyond error, they reach the culmination of nirvana. All the Buddhas who reside in the three times have likewise fully awakened to unsurpassed and perfect awakening by relying upon the perfection of wisdom. Therefore the mantra of the perfection of wisdom is the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that is equal to the unequaled, and the mantra that utterly pacifies all suffering. Since it is not false, it should be known to be true. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is stated thus, Tayata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Soha. Sariputra, this is the way a bodhisattva Great Being should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that absorption and gave his approval to the Bodhisattva Great Being, Noble Avalokiteshvara. Good, O son of the lineage, it is like that. Since it is like that, as revealed, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and even the thus gone ones, the Tathagatas, will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Sariputra, the Bodhisattva Great Being, Noble Avalokiteshvara, and the entire assembly, as well as the world with its devas, humans, asuras and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised what the Blessed One had said. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, Ya Allah, Ya Qudus, through the power of your Baraka and my contemplation of truth, may my meditation on non-duality and the power of these holy words remove all hindrances and obstacles and bring peace to all. Allahu, 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 Haq. May all harm from shaitan and jinn be removed. Allahu, 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 Haq. May all diseases and possessing spirits be removed. Allahu, 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 Haq. May I be removed from any difficulty. Allahu, 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 Haq. May I attain everything I need on the path. Allahu, 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 Haq. Make sure we're sitting comfortably. And take a few moments to settle your mind and body into stillness, relaxation, and alertness. Without getting abstract or weirdly philosophical or jumping to any conclusions, bring to mind the image you have of your body, how you day to day normally relate to my body. For example, tonight, a bit of water may have gone under your shoe or on your hand. And you may have thought, I am wet. In this instance, you would relate to yourself as being a body. And you are wet. And because you are wet, you get angry and suffer. You may simply have looked in the mirror and thought, I'm looking good. Relating to yourself as a body. You may have thought to yourself, I need a different hairstyle, in which you relate to yourself as possessing the body. The body is something that you can change. It's something you inhabit, you own. My body is getting older. But you may have the sense that you're not getting older. Or if you're identifying with the body, you may feel that you are getting older because your body is getting older. In each instance, and find your own instance, get a sense of a body that exists independent of your mind, that's there. In fact, it's the body that's real that makes your mind feel upset when you feel that you look ugly. It has nothing to do with your mind. You're just simply looking at something that's ugly from its own side, or fat, or weak. Contemplate. Try to get an image of this body that is not dependent upon parts or causes and conditions. It's just there. And there's no doubt about it. How you normally relate and function with regard to the body. Now, if we're going to find this real body that we relate to day in, day out, if it was real, it must be at one with the parts, within the parts, a part itself, a collection of the parts, or separate from the parts. Where else could this body exist? Contemplate this. that if this body that you relate to day in, day out exists, it either has nothing to do with the parts of the body, it's completely separate, or it has something to do with the parts of the body. If it's going to be found, it must be in one of these two places. And if it's the parts of the body, it's either one part of the body, a collection of the parts, where else could it be? Remember, you're not relating to a body that's a figment of your imagination. You're relating to something that exists independent of your mind. So where else could it exist other than the parts or separate from the parts? Now, this holistic entity that I relate to as my body, is it my fingernail? Is the fingernail itself not its own entity? If you walked into a room and seen some fingernails on the floor, would you think that there was a person on the floor, a body? Would you think that you no longer had a body when you cut your nails? Is your body a finger? If you were unfortunate enough to cut your finger off, and it was lying in a bag in ice on the table next to you, and someone walked into the room, would they say, "Oh, you now have two bodies"? Or would they look at your body and they would see a finger? And the finger is not the body. The finger would be its own entity. It has its own name, its own law. Clearly you don't have two bodies, and never relate yourself as having two bodies. So if you lost your finger, clearly you wouldn't lose your body. If you lost your finger, you would not say, "I no longer have a body." Is there any single part of the body we can point to and say, that is the body? Is the body that you relate to, is it your blood? If you give blood to someone else, do they have your body? You have two bodies. Your body and Dave Smith's body, who has your blood. Blood is blood, it's not a body. It is not an object that inherently has bodiness from its own side. Blood. There is no individual part of the body that is the body. In your mind, just collect things, like your finger, put it on the other side of the room. Remove your leg, put it on the other side of the room. For those of you who have had pig's organs put into your body, remove the pig's organ and put it on the other side of the room. Or your normal organs. All the things that are not the body. And just put them in a pile. And ask yourself, how can a collection of things that are not the body, in the same way that the table is not my body, how can I arrange them in such a way that makes an inherently existent body? How can a collection of things that are not the body be a body? Because whatever you point to is not the body. We can remember the analogy of a crowd, and that you are made up of what we impute crowd on, but there is no substantial phenomenon that you can take home that is a crowd, or point to that is a crowd. You never become a crowd, yet without you there is no such thing as a crowd. There is a complete and utter absence of an inherently existent crowd. And having a collection of people who are not a crowd move together does not create an object, crowd, that exists from its own side. In the same way, the parts of your body, none of them are the body. Assembling them together merely creates, and we'll go back to the start of the meditation, an image in your mind of a single entity body that appears to exist independently of the parts, but is non-existent. Other than the image in your mind and the name body, there is no body. Bring back that image until you feel an absence, that this image that you normally relate to as the body does not exist, just like a crowd does not exist. Until there's an emptiness of bodiness appears to your mind, an unfindability of an inherently existent body separate from your mind. Whenever you lose the emptiness of the body, return to the contemplation, trying to find a truly existent body existing from its own side. Until once again, the absence of a body appears, the unfindability, and we hold that absence as our object of meditation. At the very least, make a connection between how the image of your body that you relate to normally has nothing to do with even the parts, like your guts, your blood, the air moving through your body. What you relate to is just an image, a very surface level image that may even just be what clothes you're wearing. Very gently relax your concentration feeling the breath, the space around you. And we'll take a minute to stretch the body. Peace be upon you. Hope you're all well and enjoying the roller coaster. It's emptiness, the ultimate nature. So hopefully you've had your discussions. So is there any questions or anything people want to share so far? Okay.
How should you relate to the body using the analogy of the snake and the rope? Because to me, the rope feels like a more permanent kind of object compared to, so you mentioned the shadow, for example, that feels more relatable. But Geshe-la mentions a rubber snake, for example, and there's another one that says a rope. I don't really relate to that analogy as a rope or a rubber snake in terms of when we're looking at the body. Does that make sense?
What are you asking? Sorry.
With the analogy that says there is a rope, but we perceive it as a snake. When we're looking at our body, when we're looking back at our body, how do we use that analogy? I don't really understand it in that context.
Yeah, my brother studies. He's an intellectual type. He studies traditional Advaita Vedanta. So there's a whole like text about how what the rope is, and how the image of the image of the snake is, like books on it and stuff. It's like, what's the fundamental? The fundamental point is we're relating to, and it's like in the text, a generic image of our body, and then we think that's real. And then we base all our actions around this image of a body that doesn't exist. So if you look at the image of a snake, it just exists in your mind. Yeah. It just exists in your mind. What's actually there is a rope. And like the Advaita Vedanta text, like going to what is actually there. We're not going to do that just now. What's actually there in the analogy is something that you're not relating to. You're relating to something that exists only in your mind, that no one else can see because it doesn't exist out there. It exists as an image in your mind. But an actual snake does not exist at all. Not an atom of an actual snake exists there. It's non-existent. The image of a snake appears in your mind, and you're realizing also the absence of that image. So you're looking at a body. An inherently existent body appears to your mind. That's only existing in your mind. No one else is seeing it. It doesn't exist anywhere else other than as an image in your mind. And as a result, you protect it. You get upset when people call it names. And then you're just realizing the absence of that image. And when we realize that when we're doing emptiness, we're not affirming anything else. We're not saying what the body is. It's a non-affirming negation. Does that make sense? So it might take some time, might not, to distinguish between excuse me, my mind doesn't want to think. It's terrible. It's like I can't be bothered thinking. So let me. It's terrible. Yeah, speak to my wife. Poor wife. I can't remember doing it. And it's like it's quite incredible. I know there's a really good point to be made about it's like what we relate to and what we're negating. We can't believe that there's no snake there. Like, it's really difficult for us to believe there's no snake there. You have to imagine that you just spent 20 years looking at it every day, running away from it, talking about it with your friends. You know, you've got a job based on your family's relation to this snake. You know, you've written books about it. And it's just an image. And so there is absolutely, because this is the thing where we get confused, there's absolutely no body there from its own side that's inherently existent. It's non-existent. There is a non-existent rainbow that you can find. There is an existent rainbow as an image that appears. There is a non-existent self entity called the body. It's just an image in the mind. So we're negating the idea that there's a rainbow out there. Or you could say we're negating the idea of your image of the snake, but there is, you could say there's a rope in terms of this analogy. But the actual snake that's out there is totally non-existent. It exists only as an image in your mind. And it's like, a lot of times these will get confused in our experience because it's so deeply ingrained, this thing, but it's important. Does anybody else have any? Thank you.
I remember you saying about the sound consciousness and the visual consciousness, and that it's either light or it's waves. So I'm wondering if that's a way that we can relate to this non-existent body. If we perceive it as waves or light, it doesn't actually exist that you can like grab onto it or anything, but you know that it exists in our conception rather than in our, I don't know, physical reality. But is that a better way to think about relating to ourselves?
Well, I don't know if we'll do it in this series, we'll do it in another series, because like we have to study emptiness so much. We get into like the 9th chapter of the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, the wisdom chapter. And there's something that I wanted to say before that I forget, that all the other Bodhisattva practices, the other perfections, giving, moral discipline, patience, effort, and shamatha, they're all as a way to help us realize emptiness. Emptiness is ultimate bodhicitta. the realization of the emptiness of your mind is enlightenment. And that's the ultimate compassion. So our precious human life is only precious when we realize emptiness. And in this chapter, Shantideva takes us through the different schools of thought. And as I've mentioned many times before, and apparently this seems like a fairly rare understanding, like the Vajrayana, the Mahayana, the Hinayana, these schools of thought are not things out there. Although with the Mahayana and the Vajrayana, people will say, like, it's a Mahayana school. But they're not the states of mind that we progress through. And so when Shantideva is talking about these schools of thought, which are ancient Indian philosophical systems, they are states of mind that we relate to. And they're very profound, even though he calls them like the lowest school. But they're realizations of emptiness itself, but not complete realization. And we'll probably be lucky if you even have the view of the lower school. Maybe you have glimpses. And the Vaibhashikas, called the Abhidharma school as well, is that things are an illusion, like the person is an illusion and stuff, but it's made up of elements. It's like the elements of fire, water, and stuff. They're real, and on the basis of that, we have an illusory person arising. Yeah, so we'll see things like sound waves, but they're real. And on the basis of that, we have an illusory person, and we have to try and see through Maya, which is the illusions we create in our mind. But things are out there, real, as elemental particles, like atoms. That itself would be quite a profound realization. Yeah, just to see the person as an illusionary self, but, once you've realized that, but things are still real and out there, right? And everything's fine. And the next school, the Sautrantikas, based on the sutras of the Buddha, they say things exist because they function. So you see through the illusion of a person, but there's actually things there because they function. Do you ever get the sense that even though you've been meditating for a while, but things exist because clearly they function? And you function. Yeah, you might not be able to find yourself, but you function. There's functionality and there's things going on. Then the third school, and all these three schools are called the functionality school, because there's a sense of functioning, is the Chittamatran, which is mind only. So everything's empty, everything's an illusion, but everything's consciousness. Consciousness is real, and as a result, the imprints in consciousness arise and things happen. Everything is an illusion, but consciousness is real. And out of that, things function. And this is the lowest school view, realizations. So we can be, it's quite a profound and high realization. So it's like, there's no person, but awareness exists. Consciousness. Duality's there, it's fine, that's how it's meant to be. things exist as consciousness. And according to the Majjhimaka Prasanga, it's wrong. It's close, but it's wrong. Because if you go into like what you're saying, Yangshin, then try and find light that's separate as an existent entity that's out there. Try and find a sound wave that's independent of mind and independent of imputation. Try and find consciousness independent of a consciousness observing. So we say, maybe we'll get into it later on tonight, like my Lama talking about, probably might not make it, but people study these schools and he's going, I can't believe it, like, this is this school, this is that school, this is that school, and now I understand it, as if it's like some, again, just a series of thoughts that are not going to do you any good whatsoever. How we're studying emptiness is to really get to grips with how you are day-to-day life. And when we check ourselves, like, I'm real, I'm independent, I'm real, things are out there. And in our practices over the years, maybe when I talked about those three schools, you've had moments where you've kind of felt like that. It's like, oh, right, the person's an illusion, but things are still functioning, right? You know, there's still a chair and a table. And they've got nothing to do with my mind. Like, they're real. I thought we'll have, some fun tonight for me. It might not be fun for you. But we'll see how it goes. Just, it's like something different. And I'm going to play my Lama for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. Because it's in connection to what Venerable Geshe is talking about in terms of authentic teachings, authentic lineage, which he brings up, and the importance. Again, it's like he basically says the same thing again and again. Unless you realize emptiness, you will suffer. And all suffering arises from not understanding how things are. And one, I want you to see how scary my Lama. It's really quite intimidating. You're just like watching a recording, but like when it's live and it's like boom. Two, I kind of find that quite kind of entertaining. And hopefully you see. We can have different approaches. Let's also have a different voice talking about the same thing. But it's like we're getting across the radicalness of this realization and what it means. And I just want to remind you again that when we're talking about the emptiness, it is from it's the top view. And when we talk about the lower schools, or these stages of consciousness, it's like this gradual path to get there. So we don't get too frightened, but it might help. But like, it can be like, what is? Something can be it can seem quite abstract to your everyday life. So we have to ask the question, can the Buddha go to the toilet? Can the Buddha hold down a job? Now, chances are you relate to yourself as a complete mess. and you can do it. So when you realized, why can't you do it? So it's not like that, right? There's just a concept of what like the Buddha is, as if he's like, when you're the Buddha, you're just gonna be like a ball of light that just sees like energetic patterns, isn't it? Can you hear me? Is it coming through this mic? Can you hear me better now? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about that? Or anything that you found interesting? Anything? Hakeem?
I just love this calling out of people, just like, right, come in, step in. But I found it really, I was just getting really inspired listening to it. Just like, enough of the nonsense. This is what it's like. It's quite nice to hear it that way.
Yeah, it's a bit more could play on. Maybe he just starts calling people out about their functionality, but generally very intimidating and quite intense, like probing about one's life. Rahima.
Yeah, I thought it was really great to listen to him. I can relate to what he was stating about things getting worse and worse when you meet an authentic teacher. I just heard that in my head. They're a lot better than what they were, but in terms of just this, like the pain of these two minds and this desire for renunciation, um and just the grief that comes with um witnessing, just trying and trying and trying again when it doesn't, it's not working, um and seeing that and seeing the pain that it's causing myself and others. um, it was just really good to hear it in that way, and also having a little bit of faith that that's a good thing, that me meeting you and you being such a great teacher and allowing me to kind of nourish that space in me, where I can witness that, whereas before I was just blind and delusional. Now I'm delusional and semi-blind. um yeah, it just makes me feel really grateful, that you're in my life and that I have these teachings, and there's these things that I can come back to and keep coming back to and keep kind of strengthening my sense of renunciation. The other stuff is wild to hear, but it's also quite reassuring as well, because I've always kind of thought about, oh, what do Buddha's experience, and him mentioning like even like the sun and the moon are completely different, and yeah, it's a bit like me trying to conceptualize God. It's like I can't even like think about what it would be like, because it's just not going to be anything like that at all. It's just kind of wild to hear, and I just pray that continuing on, I get somewhere.
Yeah, one of the things that's really important, what you said there, is the beauty of refuge. And that is, you can completely collapse your trying to hold yourself together. And you just go, I am a complete mess. And you're held in that space. Whereas what most people are trying to do in their life, if they go to a therapist to do this, is trying to normalize some sense of stability, to be a functioning person. And it's all these masks. I'm a nice person mask around the table to make sure that you're saying the right things. Maybe you join a spiritual community and then try and learn the right words to say that make you feel okay in that spiritual community. You ever done that before? Yeah. Just like the fear that you won't be liked unless you can say the right words that community says and speak in the way that community says. And or in your job, but underneath there's this total insecurity. And knowing that actually it's realization, to realize that all this is wrong. And you want to realize this and see that. Let's say the first step is that you realize I'm ill. And you're not going to do that. One doesn't do that unless one feels that one can actually be healed. That one can change. That one can grow. It's too scary just to fall apart. When people just fall apart, most people fall apart, right? They either fall apart into mental illness and suicide, or they fall apart into sannyas. Yeah. But there's a falling apart. And that's like a really beautiful thing. It's like I don't have to hold myself together. I think, Baron, can you slice out the stuff from the recording out of this recording? You can, yeah. Because it's always nice to hear, say, another voice, and there's a bit that continues on from. I think maybe do another 10 minutes, but someone talking very personally about their life.
Sorry, I missed what you said. Did you say because we man started crying? Did you say to cut out all the other talking, the talk that you showed?
Yeah, if you can take it out so it's not on the recording. I forgot to say, can we stop recording?
Yeah, I'll take that out before
You can take that out, great, yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Because I shouldn't really show it, just because there's other people there.
Yeah.
And if I play the thing, it's a very personal thing the person's revealing, but it's always nice to see someone's, what they've gone through on the path and what the Dharma can do for them. And if you see yourself as extended Sangha. And so it's talking about like developing equanimity as a way into emptiness. And you like talked about the other week about you have like likes and biases about people. Yeah, but they're just projections of your mind. And we have my favourite quote, one of my favourite quotes from Shantideva. One moment they are friends, and the next moment they are enemies. Since they become angry in joyful situations, it's difficult to please ordinary beings. Yeah, all it takes is someone just to say something wrong, and then you no longer like them. And then they're inherently unpleasant person. And we have all these views about ourselves. And it's like, so this person's like going through your past and seeing how you used to view yourself, how you view yourself now, what you like about yourself. They're just labels. Labels and names. Tamara, do you have a question for me?
I'm just wanting to comment around the idea of knowing the right words and falling apart. And it feels like working with you and the Sangha is like a controlled falling apart, because it's never this, it's never that. And so I can see myself trying to make these adaptations, and it makes it easier to see the idea of who I think I am, because there's this observing of, you're not getting it, oh, wrong again, you're an idiot, so blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that is not, it's all seen, you know? So it's really strong and yeah, really all over the place over here. And then it lands, it's like, and so emptiness is becoming my refuge, because that's like, well, I don't know what's going on, and that feels okay compared to trying to figure it out all the time. So it's hard, but it's got these really lovely, like, I don't know, I do not know. And that's sort of, so it's good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's where we're trying to get to. Non-affirming negation. We're not saying what is there. We're just saying that's not there. I think like some of the rest of the talk, if we play it, is about this functionality, just like, I've got to get on about the day, nice talk, this happened, finish the class, nice talk, nice class, so I've got to get on with the day, I've got work to do, that's real, isn't it? I'm real, I've got things to do, I've got to function, therefore I exist, right? I'm a mother now, that's real. There's a sacred cow. Where you try to say my kid's not real, it's not important. It's just a label. You try to say it's just a label. So we'll is that the mic? I hope that's okay to play that for the class. I hope it had some effect. Absolutely hilarious. But it's quite intimidating when he's on you. But it's quite a powerful thing, you know. You go for your family, your samsaric life, or realization. Any loyalty to realization. So it's like you can see how you'd never try and convert someone to real practice, right? You can see how it's easy to exploit someone to get them to come along just like for money and stuff. They're not really that interested. And how many people like really, you know, are up for realization? It's like, so it, like emptiness comes after you meant to have done some practice, got something together, so it doesn't like freak you out. It's too much. And this is, like the point is, this is the peak of compassion. Did anybody have any questions about what was on? Yeah, Jen.
Yeah, I was thinking about the if it's all our mind organising data, how can we become realised when we can't have the mind that organises realisation? Do you know what I mean? Like when he talked about the other people seeing, realised beings seeing, we don't have that perception to organise.
There's the most important point to start with is it's transcendental to all our knowledge. It's not just a cop-out. It's like, well, actually, we can't actually figure it out. These are all fingers pointing to the moon. That's important. Otherwise, it, like you get into like trying to figure it out with your mind. Like, this is just helpful to get some kind of understanding. But again, each understanding still, it's still not it, right? So a miss is as good as a mile. You know, something may almost be a circle is as well as being a square, right? It's not a circle. But so that is the background to address the question. There are two schools of thought. One, you're already that. And reference to earlier on, like you think you function, but you don't exist, but yet you're going through life perfectly. And it's this illusion on top of what's actually going on anyway that thinks it's functioning. And that all that does is make you suffer for what's actually happening. So you imagine that you actually know what's happening and then your life unfolds incomparably better. You call that realization. The only thing that's going to happen is like this crazy images you've got going on in your head are going to be removed as you go about. But one, you're already that. That's one school of thought. And the other approach from Tsongkhapa is you create the causes and conditions out of all those factors for that to be realized. So it's almost like you create the causes and conditions for the mind to atrophy, to stop. And as Venerable Geshe says in the book, that requires accumulation of wisdom, accumulation of merit. So through studying emptiness, meditating on emptiness, doing virtuous actions and doing the path, you're creating the causes and conditions for the mind to understand how things actually are. That's their understanding that every cause and effect. The effect being enlightenment. But from the other school's point of view, you're already that. So it's almost just like just a way for the mind to stop working. So like you can't create consciousness, right? You can't create the awareness. It's just letting go of that which isn't. But another way of saying it is you're creating the causes and conditions in your mind to do that, because everything we're doing with the mind is causes and conditions. It's cause and effect. Everything we're doing is karma. When we meditate on it, it's like different karma. It's like good karma until we can stand outside of karma. That's Dzogchen meditation. Does that make sense? Thank you. Nanka.
What does functionality imply in terms of consciousness? Does that imply that there's a choice? Whereas it sounds like consciousness doesn't have a choice and therefore doesn't function as we think it does.
Yeah, we'll get, you're talking about the conventional nature of reality, the actual, like, which we'll get into next chapter. Like, really get into, like, say Venerable Geshe says, that's hard to understand in emptiness. How things actually function. Because it's like, you can't impute an elephant on a potato. But then it seems like there must be something there to impute functionality on. So it seems as like there's an inherent quality to an elephant in order for you to impute elephant on it. And that's harder to understand than that there is no elephant there from its own side. I think it's probably what you get, like functionality, like seems just so inherently real. And that's those lower schools, like, yeah, I'm imputing things, but I'm imputing things on something. I can't define it, but there's something there I'm imputing them on. Right? So it's like inherent existence is very deep. But we'll get into that next week. I think it'll be next week. I think next chapter. Oh, that's okay. Does anybody else have? Thank you.
Just something I've noticed sometimes when looking for the person, and then I suppose staying in the lack of, sometimes it's just like, well, there's like a sense of individualness or individuation. There's like, I'm here. There's some sort of existence, not in the, like, that's obvious, like we are here. But I see there's such a tendency, I'm so used to it, the person then latches onto it. It's almost like it just latches onto awareness itself and creates, well, this is me in a personal sense. But there is, at the same time as that, there's still, yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, there's a consciousness that's there.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the third school. There's a consciousness that's there. That's there. And I know that person I have moments where the person's not real, and sometimes it comes back, but there's something realized in it, right? That's there. Yeah, like the self is there. It's a very difficult thing you just negate and you don't posit anything else.
is in that sense, we're looking at the body, for example, and label everything. If you're not to do that, there is just simply the sensations of there's just sensations of the body. And if you're negating everything, that's the only thing that's actually here is the sensations of this thing that we're calling the body.
Yeah, I was going to get into it in the meditation, but I thought, because I know that it's like what's left is now be feelings, right? There's feelings. It's like feelings aren't the body, are they? Feelings are an attribute of the mind, aren't they?
Well,
But what comes is like there's the concept that feelings are part of the body, which they're not, but we have the concept that they are, and then an image forms around them. And we definitely associate body with pain. It's like a big one. I've got a body because I feel pain. So body must be there. But they're just sensations. And sensations are one of the aggregates, which are not the body, not form. And if you look for the sensation, you can't find it. But if you don't form any image, any conception around the sensation, how is it the body?
well, it seems to be there's just the sensations there, and then anything beyond that is all conceptualization. Even the conceptualizing of it being a sensation, that's to be negated as well. It just is.
So yeah, it's another imputation.
That's an imputation as well.
Sensation.
All right, yeah. Uh-huh.
And everything is an imputation. Emptiness is an imputation. So you can see where the point that takes a lot of study, a lot of meditation. So just because it's like you get into this is my personal favorite crowd. I just try and get a sense of how much, like let's say you just go for a walk in the woods and you see the occasional person, how much there's no crowd there. There's nothing that's a crowd that I'm gonna go and buy some crowd. There's a guy in the woods who sells crowd. I'm gonna go and buy some and take it home. Just how much there's absolutely nothing that is a crowd in existence. If you lived alone on an island, it would never enter your head. You would never even conceive of it. There'd just be nothing there. That's the crowd. And that's how you exist as a self. There's nothing there. It's quite a thing. And how much how real we think we are, going from that to the sense of, it's like how you're not relating to a crowd anywhere. It doesn't exist anywhere. You can't meet a crowd, you can't talk to it. And you have that same sense when you meet, there's nothing there that is the self. That sense of nothing there that's the self. So you say, what's arising? You can just imagine it's just sensations. Or a thought which you completely understand is not yourself. Just whatever arises are just things that just... And it's just this absence of selfness. You can, understand why people can find that scary. And why you need to do a lot of meditation on renunciation to understand that this is nirvana. As soon as you stop, you just back to itself. Right? I need to go out. I need to go shopping. Thirsty. Got to look after the kids. It's helpful. That's why it's to go on retreat. So you can, if you can just try and spend an hour in that space of no self. And there's no self there. And then you see how much you want to be a self. Yeah, it's a really, really profound thing to have the realization of renunciation. I do not want to relate to my being as a self. I see that as the source of all my trouble. And as Lama Michael put it, you take the red, do you want to take the red pill or the green pill? With the red pill being, it's just spend time with my family, or my baby, my job, and it's the next 20 years I'm watching Netflix and having a baby, or you don't exist. Right? And you want the green pill. That's the realization of renunciation. And of course, you have to ask, can Buddha look after his kid any better than you can? And you can ask. You can ask Muji if he can look after his kids. You ask Dudjom Lingpa's kids, Dudjom Rinpoche's kids, if they could look after them. There's loads of Buddhists. Ask Sheikh Nazim's kids if he could look after them. Or he's a shit dad. He couldn't function. Yeah, his kids are like sheikhs. Like all of them. His daughters are like sheikhs and things. He managed. So it's you can have a conceptual, but you see what renunciation means. It's the understanding that, yeah, of course I don't want to have a self, and that would be the best way to be a dad. And it's quite profound because they're all they said it's just he just treated everyone around us the same as he treated us. We didn't feel that we just felt everyone was brother and sister, and he loved everyone the same. There was no special treatment for his kids. Sheikh Nazim. But there's the thing, it's my child immediately. Now Buddha's saying, is that the source of happiness? Or is that the source of, is that going to cause pain? Very interesting things to investigate. Does anybody else have any questions? Any freakouts? Okay.
It's what we're talking about here, essentially, a gradual path into the mind, not conceptualizing anything at all.
Yeah. But Buddhas can figure things out. That's beyond our conception.
It feels like there's a kind of schism between those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Buddhas can see samsara, your samsara, those who couldn't help you. So we'll get, this is the first time Geshe-la's used the term, Venerable Geshe-la's used the term generic image. And that we are functioning through images. Kind of mentioned it the other week, that they have form, then we have like and dislike, and then through like and dislike, these preferences and biases, and then these formations arise around all this like and dislike. And we live through that image. We don't actually see the object. All the time we live just through ideas in our minds, our likes and dislikes, our prejudices and bias about chairs, people. We never see in the thing. Buddhists see the thing directly. They don't need to conceive about it like that. So there's not a conceptual process. It's direct seeing. So when we're relating to someone, we're always relating to them through our conceptual frameworks. We never really see them. And if they do something that goes against our conditioning and conceptual prejudice, we won't like them. Yeah. So if we're in the UK and they don't say please and thank you, you're ignorant. And if you're in Sweden, fine. Easy example, right? And that's our entire system of what we consider a person to be nice or good. It's just conceptual frameworks that based around a false sense of a self that fits in with that conceptual framework, and is to shoot all that down. Freedom. Tamaya.
I was wondering about Vajrayogini and conceptualizing yourself as something completely higher and perfect, and that using the power of imagination, how that blends into, because it's quite a sort of a different approach, but it seems to meet in not this, not this. Does Vajrayogini sadhana really lead in naturally to emptiness?
Yeah, it's like that's when you get some taste of emptiness, then Tantra kicks off. Because as soon as you decide to see yourself as a Buddha, you are one. Yeah, so it's like it's just how you think about yourself just now is a bunch of conceptions, and it's usually like I'm rubbish, I'm crap, not good enough, and you just I'm a Buddha, and that's the quick path. But you can't believe it. That's because you've got deep-rooted conceptions that you hold on to, but they go hand in hand. So you just like later on in that sangha that he's talking to, some I just see myself as a yidam. He's going, that's it. Problem solved. You're just made up. Like you make up yourself. That's the thing. So you make up. I'm a Buddha. But when you got clear seeing, say like how you see what will appear to your mind will be just very different. And Tantra is like just a quick way to get there. till you have completely pure perception. And what you'll say is that you're a Buddha. But it is a practice, right? Yeah, so it's like you're practicing. Just a way of changing your mind and seeing that if you decide to see people as Buddhas, you decide to see yourself as Buddha. I mean, you're so close because it's like everyone's beautiful and you're beautiful, they're beautiful. And you're getting really close to emptiness because you realize, oh, it just depends how I impute things. And they're not out there. I'm not out, it just depends how I impute myself. It seems we've got no control over our mind. So it seems we've got no control over our conceptions. So if we have a negative thought about ourselves, we immediately identify with it, and then it immediately appears we're having a bad day. Oh, I'm down today. Because you believe that conception. And then there's an energetic, when we go into Tantra and we practice energy, there's an energy wind that goes with it. Then the energy solidifies the conception. The feeling is then felt as real, and we identify completely with it, and I'm down today. So yeah, we're working with that process with Tantra and just kind of reversing it and practicing Tumo, so we're creating beautiful energy and a beautiful concept of who we are. And especially, you understand you're not this body, right? You're not this body. And just very simply there, investigate yourself. People have near-death experiences where their body is dead. They leave the body. They look at the body. They see colours, shapes. They report back what the doctors said. They even report back what the people said in a different room. They come back into the body. They tell them what happened. Their consciousness heard these things, not the ears. So imagine you leave the body, you're not the body, and you're a Buddha. That's what would appear to your consciousness because of the training. And then just imagine that, but you're now moving, so you're relating to that Buddha, but you're moving this thing, which is not you. This is just the Namanikaya aspect too, so you can help people. So that's 9:41. 10 minutes over, not too bad. I hope that was okay playing the video. Good, it's nice to have a different voice every now and again, different perspective. But, from our lineage, and maybe, you get a sense, just see who my Lama is and see the kind of pressure that I'm under. It's like whew, when the eye goes on you, especially like at 2 a.m. It's like a nice bit of fun. It makes me laugh whenever I'm watching it. It's like that's the kind of teacher I like. It's like he does swear quite a lot. It's no like Nancy Pants. It's just like let it all out. Be honest. And Baron, if you can make sure you remove from the video all the stuff with Lama. Thank you so much. We'll finish with the dedication prayer. By these virtues and meditations, may I realize the perfection of wisdom. May I deepen into the transcendent beyond and attain union with the Beloved. May all beings be born from the Blessed Mother and awaken as enlightened beings. So for homework, I'll probably just read it. It'll be about 10 pages that we'll read. And again, if you partner up So, Pema, you go with Hakeem. Samaya, go with Yangchen. And Namka, you can go with Rahima. And just discuss. And now we just want an image of the body. Just like we do with the person, just your usual sense of how you relate to the body. Out the corner of your eye, and just get the sense that you do not think that it has parts. You don't think it's dependent on your mind. Yeah, that's the main one. It's just there from its own side. When you look in the mirror, it's got nothing to do with what your mind, what you're seeing. Yeah, just get a real idea of how you relate and what your view is that you'll protect, that you'll look after, and why you would take the red pill rather than the green pill. Yeah, just get that sense. So thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the journey of emptiness.